Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our fourth episode of Vulnerability, inspired by the Resilience Project and Hugh Van Cuylenberg. Thank you for your inspiration. We have a special guest here today.
We sure do. We are very lucky to be joined with Bonnie Hancock. We're so lucky to have her here today. Bonnie and I used to race in the Iron Series a few years ago. Bonnie is also an accredited practicing dietitian who works in a clinic, and she's about to embark on paddling her surf ski or a kayak, surf ski?
Ocean ski.
Solo around the whole of Australia. That is so inspiring. Have people called you crazy?
You can call it crazy if you want. Yeah, absolutely. That's the first sort of reaction is you're crazy, then it's the why. But it's been about 2 years in the making for me. So 2 years ago, I read Freya Hoffmeister's book, which is a lady who paddled on a sea kayak around. So they're about 100 kilos fully loaded. I'll be paddling a 9-kilo ocean ski.
Oh my gosh, so inspiring. And when will you be embarking on that?
Yeah, so we're looking at December at the moment. So at the end of the professional ocean ski racing series. And we're just trying to find logistically where would work best. It's sort of looking like Western Australia, but I'm learning a lot at the moment, that's for sure.
Amazing.
Amazing. It's incredible. I know once you come past Sydney, I'll definitely be jumping on the water and doing a few strokes with you.
Good, I'll appreciate that. Even like the mental support, I think at that stage is going to be so important. So a nice smile would be very welcome.
And so Harriet and I we've actually put together some questions for Bonnie, which she doesn't know. I've got my beanie on my head today, so they're actually hidden in my beanie. So before we get into our vulnerability questions, the most important question is, what tea is everyone drinking today?
So I chose the pure peppermint from a lot of different options, which is quite refreshing, if you could call it that.
Bonnie's at my house, and I've got quite a big tea collection to choose from. And I've got my trusty licorice, which is always my favourite.
Nice. I have kind of ditched the tea and I've got a coffee. So I'm actually not in theme, but oh well. We could
Rebel.
Caffeine.
All right. Shall we get stuck into it?
We shall. So I'm still going.
You got it out. I'm just going to say, Bonnie, please be as open as honest as you can. I know some of these questions that we've picked might be a little bit challenging, potentially a little bit triggering, but I think that we can all learn from the experience that you've been through. So looking forward to it.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. The opportunity to share my experiences, I think is something that's very, very special. It's taken me probably a lot of years to be able to sit here and do this. So I love what you girls are doing. So thank you.
Well, you've definitely inspired me and Harriet throughout our journeys as well. So we feel very lucky to have you here. So on to the first question. I'm still taking it out of my lovely beanie. The question is,
have you struggled up a bit? Yep. Have you struggled with body image and comparing yourself to others?
Oh, wow. That's a good one for me. Because I can definitely answer a big yes. So thank you to whoever put that question in there. So I guess to start, I need to go back to my background and growing up. So I grew up in a little town of Sawtell, which is in Coffs Harbour. It's about 3 hours south of the Gold Coast. And I was one of 4 girls. So I grew up in a very, I guess you'd call competitive environment. You know, you're naturally sort of comparing yourself to your sisters. When you're young, and particularly in a place like Sawtell, you're very sheltered. So, you know, it's sort of a very positive environment. You know, we sort of trained in our surf club and kind of hung around the beach on a weekend. So you're not really exposed to a lot of negativity, I guess would be the way to put it. So I moved up to the Gold Coast at 17, and there were 2 reasons for that. I wanted to study nutrition dietetics, and I wanted to make the Nutrigrain series. I was lucky enough to make the Nutrigrain series at 17, and I made it with my elder sister, Courtney. That was a huge turning, I guess, what am I trying to say? Achievement.
Yeah.
Turn in the road, fork in the road, really made our kind of goals come to life and kind of our direction we were taking. So that was awesome. But with that came the immediate comparisons. So not just from people, well-meaning people, I think, in the surf club, who would always say things like, you know, oh, you can beat your sister this weekend, or, you know, you got her in that race. It was also the media, like wherever we finished, if Courtney had a good race, it would be, you know, outshines younger sister. I remember a race that I happened to do really well, and it was, you know, oh, Bonnie sort of for once, you know, overshadows big sister or something like that. And I think at the time you don't realize it becomes so normalized, but there was just that immediate comparison, right? So it's not even comparing to people on social media, etc. It's actually a direct comparison to your sister, which is quite awful. Courtney only ever supported and encouraged me. She had nothing to do with the comparisons and hated what the media would say. I was in a very loving relationship for about 5 years. So I feel as though that was a big part of my self-worth and kind of making me feel valuable. So I feel as though I wasn't as vulnerable during it as I could have been because of that relationship. Not saying you need a relationship to feel valued and loved, as I've learnt, but that just happened to be how it was. When I broke up with that first boyfriend, which was around the age of probably 20, 23, that's when I became very vulnerable. So as we know, after a relationship, you're, you know, down in the dumps, you're feeling pretty crappy. In the off season, I started to become obsessed with how I looked. Maybe a feeling of not feeling good enough, feeling responsible for that relationship ending. It started with obsessive exercise. So I remember around that time having a week where I did 20 sessions in that week. Then came the restrictive eating. So probably the worst part about it was when I started to lose weight. So I lost the first 5 kilos. I started to get some comments of people saying, wow, you're looking good. You know, you're looking really fit. Like there was a comment, oh, you used to be a bit bigger for an Iron Woman. Now you're sort of probably more that Iron Woman body type. I didn't know there was an Iron Woman body type, but anyway, as I got those positive comments, I took it further. I ended up losing 11 kilos in the space of maybe, I think it was about 3 to 4 months. Extremely.
That's extreme.
Yeah, extremely underweight for my body type. So someone could look at me at that time and say, oh, she looks really fit, right? Like, but my body type, like my biggest struggle is probably to stay at, you know, that racing weight. Like I naturally carry a lot of muscle. It just got to the stage where I was weighing myself daily. I was taking like tape measurements around my waist. Probably the worst part about it was knowing how much, you know, good nutrition you need as an athlete, but restrictive eating. So I would restrict my carbohydrates. I never got to the stage of actually vomiting. I do see in clinic now a lot of eating disorder patients who get to that stage. I didn't get to that stage, but it was more what I just wasn't putting in my mouth. So. And
you were studying dietetics at the time.
Yeah.
So I guess we could say kind of you knew better, but I guess that just goes to show how much your mind can, you know what you need to do.
100%.
But when you're in that place, it's hard. Was that a really hard time?
It was a really, really tough time. Like you know, people would say I was looking the best I'd ever looked. My self-esteem was so low. You know, I knew what I should be putting in my body. I was deliberately restricting, and probably what is worse is I knew the shortcuts to lose weight, did it in a really bad way. I had a good result at the start of the season. I got a 3rd in the Coolangatta Gold, but I should have been able to finish that race off better than I did. I had absolutely nothing due to restrictive eating leading in. So anyway, that was like potentially could have been one of my best seasons, as the year before I'd sort of had a little bit of a breakout year and a 2nd in the Nutri-Grain series and one of the rounds and just consistent results. Instead, I had to pull out of the sport in November as what the doctor diagnosed as chronic fatigue was basically like, you know, they described it as red S now, absolute, like no energy. I got glandular fever, surprise, because I didn't have enough vitamins and minerals. I went really iron deficient, and I had to take I think it was 6 months off uni because I couldn't concentrate. So it took me, about a year. I ended up having to have about 2.5 years out of the sport after that. And
Wow.
I've never really told anyone about that and kind of covered it up.
I was
So
just going to ask, did you talk about it at the time?
No, not really, to be honest. I was sort of embarrassed, I think, about what I was doing. I think in that time, like, no one really, like, what you girls are doing is so powerful, because there wasn't a lot of that around, I guess, that real female empowerment. And it was still in a stage where, you know, the Coolangatta Gold, they said women couldn't do the full distance. Like, the prize money was half of the men's. I think that real female empowerment wasn't quite there yet. I kept it all to myself, and it was the worst year of my life. But it, you know, essentially taking that time off and coming back, I won't jump too far ahead, ended up being the best thing possibly for me.
I guess that leads us to our next question.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that story with us, Bonnie, because like those things we know are really hard to talk about, but like I'm sure there's so many girls out there that feel the same way or might have the same mindset at the moment, and knowing that women have been through that before, I think is really important. Because I think we all go through, like, maybe not to your degree, but we all go through stages like that, and it is a really lonely time.
Yeah, certainly. And I think it's so nice that you said thank you. And I think as a good friend of Bonnie's back then, I'm hearing this for the first time and I had no idea. And I might have kind of thought that, oh, Bonnie just doesn't want to come to training, or Bonnie doesn't want to come and hang out. But really you were struggling with something much bigger than just, you know, just that. Totally.
And if I can encourage anyone who's going through, you know, issues with eating and issues with their body, like, you know, reach out to, you know, a dietitian, or whether it's a sports psychologist or a psychologist in general, whether it's an older mentor. And just the other advice I'd give to people in general would be to just be careful of comments around female body image. I remember my favourite cafe down the road, I'd go to like almost every day. And one time the manager who wasn't, the owner who wasn't in that often, said, oh yeah, you're Bonnie, I know your sister, she's the skinnier and more tanned one, you know. And so that kind of, like, for me, I didn't really want to go back to that cafe, and you walk away feeling a bit sick, I guess. So as I said, it had nothing to do with my sister, it was the comments. So just for people to be aware of the language around female bodies, I guess. Yeah.
And you never know how anyone's feeling at the time.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So
Wow, I feel like I want to keep on talking about this, but we do have another question which I'm going to pull out now, and it's actually probably will turn this conversation into a positive. So I've just got to remember what side it's on. And here is question 2.
Has it been hard to learn to love your body?
Yeah, I think, again, a big yes to that one, because I think going through that has led me to this. Now I'll sort of explain how the progress, but has led me to now being a situation where I can truly say, like, I love my body because I love what it does for me. I love that I can go ski training and feel strong. And I think my focus is on feeling strong now. But after that sort of time I had off, so I went and finished my university studies. Eventually I found a very loving relationship he's now my husband. But over that time, I think what I realized through many tears and you know, a lot of anxiety was actually the key is to put your value in other things than your body image. So absolutely, it's very important to, you know, I'm a dietitian, to eat well. It's very important to, you know, have a healthy lifestyle, and I think healthy exercise, whatever that might look like. But you need to find your other values. So my value each day will be in, you know, being a good friend, being, you know, hopefully a good wife, even though sometimes the house duties might get left, you know, trying to be really good at my job, you know, feeling good when I train. It might be just doing something to help someone every day. So I think if you can put all of that value in other things, that leads you to a really healthy relationship with your body, because you can see all the positive things you can do. But it has been really hard. Like, you know, during that time where I dropped out of the sport, and went and studied university, it actually went the other way, and I put on a lot of weight because I sort of went to the other way and went, you know, stuff it. I probably went and drank a lot, like binge drinking and that kind of thing, probably to try to hide a lot of those feelings. So to get to where I am now and have a, you know, a healthy diet and a balanced sort of exercise regime, it's been really tough. And
did it take a lot of work? Did you have to consciously like try and figure that out? Because I guess someone sitting there that's in that dark place at the moment sees, all right, I'll be kind to my friends, I'll do this, but I guess it's easier said than done.
Absolutely. Like that first year was a matter of, it's like a battle with your mind. So there's like one half saying like, you know, cut bread out because that's going to put on weight. That's a carbohydrate, you know, and as a dietitian, you're going, I need that to fuel my body. But then there's the other side, which is the eating disorder side, saying, no, cut that out. You'll stay at this ridiculous, you know, weight where people are giving you compliments. So all of my value was placed in others' thoughts instead of what I really wanted. So yes, I think it's that battle of the two, but it will get easier. And even if it's a bit of journaling or writing down how you feel, probably most importantly, telling someone, having a mentor, I think is important.
And did you start opening up to someone?
Yeah, I did very slowly but surely, probably to my family first, and then the couple of people I met in my uni studies. I think that's what sort of saved me to some degree, because I had no fear that they'd judge me. You know, unfortunately, the surf life saving community is very small, and I feel, you know, sometimes if you tell someone, you can be worried it will get to someone else. And having that group which was external, and that's probably another thing I'd highly recommend. Like, love the surf life saving community, but to have friends who have other interests as well, it will just get you outside that bubble. And I think you can really chat to them about a lot of things you might not feel comfortable talking to your training mates about.
I think the hardest thing about our sport as well is that it is a beach sport, so we have to show our bodies to do what we love. Like, if there was any other way to like race well whilst like not having to put everything on show, like that would be amazing, but unfortunately it's the only problem. And like, it makes me sad to think about how this like might drive women out of our sport, which is so great. So having these conversations is so important to keep girls in the sport and to keep women feeling positive about their bodies when it can be hard. And it's so cool to hear now, Bonnie, that you're comfortable in your own skin, like you love who you are and what you're doing, and doing all these amazing things which you wouldn't be able to do without a healthy body.
Yeah, thank you. And I definitely can't be worrying about cutting carbs out come December. I'm working out my fuel. I'm going to need to
all the calories
so
you can get.
much, right? So yeah, it's really cool. And I think I never would be able to have taken up this opportunity in December if I was worried about that stuff. So it's more about what your body can do instead of what it looks like all the time. Yeah.
I think also, like, it's so obvious when you say it like out loud, to say like you need food for more than just your weight. You need food for your health, which is like why you got sick when you were young. But I think when you're thinking about it inside your head, all you see is food is weight, kind of. You don't think about food as health, and food is minerals and vitamins. So like, even saying that stuff out loud is like, wow, like food is so much more important than just what it does to the outside of your body.
Absolutely. And I think now when I do see my eating disorder patients, I'm so passionate about helping them and educating them in that way, you know, looking at your foods which act as an anti-inflammatory, your foods which are good for your immune system, and why you need those. And yeah, unfortunately, there are a lot of girls who struggle with those body image issues, but I really feel through platforms like this and, you know, other people who are doing great things, we can make a difference together.
Absolutely. And I think you've definitely made a difference. I mean, I'm even just inspired that I guess what I take out of this is that you sometimes see women who are doing amazing things, but you often don't know their struggles and their stories, and you can never judge someone just by what you see, or what you see them doing, or what you see their body shape changing and things like that. So hopefully,
even like going on from that, has like, because I'm younger, I used to sit down on TV and watch you two run around on TV in the series, and I never would have thought, oh, Bonnie's struggling. I was just thinking, Bonnie is amazing. I want to be her. Like, I can't wait to try and live like that. And there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes. So it's just incredible to hear those stories.
So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
We are so beyond grateful that you've, I guess, given us your time and opened up, and I'm sure that the girls will be able to take on board and learn from what you've said.
Absolute pleasure. And if anyone wants to get in touch as well, I'm always open, and yeah, send me a message or whatever.
Yeah, where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably just through my own social media or Instagram at Bonnie Hancock. If you want to drop me a message, I'm more than happy to have a chat about any of that stuff.
Yeah, and you can follow the journey on her trip around the world.
Can't wait. A little bit nervous, but excited as well, I guess. Thank you.
Yay. Bye.